school in Graz, Austria's second largest city. Authorities said the suspect, armed with a shotgun and a pistol, opened fire across multiple floors of the secondary school before taking his own life in a bathroom. Investigators are now combing through his online activity and personal effects, searching for clues to his motive. While some Austrian media reports he may have felt bullied, police have not confirmed this. Here is what Gerald Ortner, Austrian Police Chief, and Gerhard Kahner, Federal Minister of the Interior, have had to say after the attack.
Mutmaßlichen Täter handelt es sich um einen 21-jährigen Österreicher aus dem Bezirk Graz-Umgebung. Nach derzeitigem Kenntnisstand wurden bei der Tat 2 Schusswaffen verwendet, die am Tatort sichergestellt werden konnten. Diese Waffen werden nun kriminaltechnisch untersucht. Der mutmaßliche Täter dürfte die Waffen legal besessen haben.
Es ist bekannt und auch zu berichten, dass er Schüler dieser Schule auch war, diese Schule nicht abgeschlossen hat. Alles andere, das sind viele Dinge zum jetzigen Zeitpunkt spekuliert worden, ist eben Spekulation. Und das ist Aufgabe jetzt des Landeskriminalamtes, unter Federführung des Landeskriminalamtes, die Hintergründe zu ermitteln.
Well, religious studies teacher Paul Nitscher recalled seeing the suspect trying to shoot a lock off a door before fleeing. I thought this can't be real, he told ORF. Here is what one of the students had to say about the incident.
Surreal situation, and all of us are not quite sure how to deal with it. It's way too early, and in the name of my school, students and teachers and everybody, I would ask all the media to have the greatest respect of all of us and to leave us alone, mostly because it's way too early, it's way too traumatizing for most of the students, and we would like to stay, to have our peace and to stay together. And yeah, it's hard to explain how it feels.
The attack, one of the deadliest in Austria's modern history, has prompted renewed calls for tighter gun laws. Graz's mayor urged immediate reforms, and RUF acknowledged the need to address any legal loopholes. In response to the tragedy, the country has declared 3 days of national mourning. Thousands gathered in Graz's central square on Tuesday evening to honour the victims. Well, joining us to discuss this tragic incident and the wider ramifications is Jonathan Hoffman, the former Vice President of the Zionist Federation of the United Kingdom, who is joining us from London. Jonathan, thank you ever so much for being here. I myself have spent most of my life in Europe. Of course, gun laws, gun restrictions are in place, so a shooting of this scale at a school is rare. What was your first opinion after hearing this news?
It was a dreadful tragedy, and I think certainly Austria, I understand, has one of the highest gun ownership proportions in Europe. Surely they will be thinking about tightening their gun laws now. Of course, the worst country for gun crime is the United States, where it's a constitutional right to bear a gun, and it seems impossible to oppose the National Rifle Association, which is a very powerful lobby there, and people have tried to tighten gun laws in the States, and it's proved very difficult. But I think I'm sure that the Austrian government will be reassessing their gun laws now.
Yes, absolutely. A tragedy of this kind often stirs conversation. Of course, the information about the prime suspect has not yet been released in terms of a name, but we do have some information, a former student. Given that there are reports in the media that there was potential bullying, do you think more needs to be done in these instances, potentially around safeguarding not just people within schools, but also potential perpetrators if they are experiencing stuff like bullying within school, and the psychological impact that that could have?
Well, I don't know. I don't know the Austrian system, but surely if somebody leaves school with a grudge or having been bullied, then somebody needs to keep a watch on them. But it's it's easy to say that, but very difficult to monitor people like that. It just requires a lot of manpower and technical manpower to be able to do that. It's very hard to prevent these kinds of atrocities, I think. Maybe almost impossible, but I'm sure that the government in Austria will be thinking very hard about what it can do to prevent a repeat of this terrible tragedy.
Yes, absolutely. And the country, of course, is in mourning, a period of mourning to be acknowledged across Austria after this devastating attack with young lives lost. This situation has resonated across the world, also in Europe too. Do you think that there would be any wider ramifications across Europe given the scale of the attack? We've had recent shootings in Sweden as well. Do you think gun violence is something that European leaders and European emergency services should be more wary of now, given the increasing number of gun attacks we're seeing like this one in Austria?
Well, even though Austria is a member of the European Union, the fact is that these domestic issues are still the responsibility of national police forces and national governments. So I think it's unlikely to see any response on a European Union-wide basis. But I'm sure that other governments will be looking at their own gun laws and how easy it is to get hold of a gun, whether legally or illegally. I haven't seen whether the culprit had a legal gun, whether he had a license or not. I don't know if that's come out yet, but surely if it was a legal gun, then they have to tighten up the conditions as a result of this atrocity.
Yes, as far as we understand that there were licenses in place for the weapons that were used in this incident. I want to bring it back to the incident itself. Police have searched the residency of the prime suspect and found a pipe bomb and also a potential plan along with a letter to the suspect's parents. This could have been a lot worse if that plan was carried out. There is, of course, positivity over the fact that that wasn't the case, but still despair for so many, a country that has been rocked by this incident. As we look forward now, Jonathan, how can an incident like this be reflected upon and learnt from, as opposed to being seen as a dark day in history? We've spoken about potential gun laws. What else could be seen from the government of Austria and police forces to really turn a positive page after this day of darkness?
Well, I think that inevitably and probably regrettably, I think surveillance has to increase to keep people safe. I think that the challenge is to spot potential murderers before they strike. All sorts of things can be done, like facial recognition, for example. Maybe detaining people who are suspects even though they haven't committed a crime. If you think they're likely to commit a crime, then they need to be watched very carefully and possibly detained. I think that really that's the only way. But I think in the price of having a free a free society is that there will be occasional incidents like this, unfortunately, but I think the authorities have to do everything possible to try to spot problems before they arise.
Yes, Jonathan Hoffman, thank you ever so much for joining us. Of course, our thoughts